Thank you for being here in person or online. The session is called Migrating to New Heights, a Dept Agency Guide to Seamless Migration in the Middle of an ISO Certification. Please join me in welcoming Michael Sorowek from Dept and Misha van der Bent from Jamf.
Thank you. Hello, hello, hello. Almost there.
Test, test. There we go.
Here we go.
Hi, thank you for coming. My name is Matthew Serwick. I am Associate Director of Global Information Security at Dept Agency.
Yeah, my name is Misha van der Bent, Consulting Engineer at Jamf, managing the team in EMEA. And we're based in the Netherlands, so far away from Elston. So today we're going to talk about who's Dept, who's the company. We're also going to talk about project takeover, what we did, what we accomplished. Also, the next things like we're going to share some challenges with you guys, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we did the migration.
Yeah, let's dig into who is Dept.
Yep.
Dept is a tech and marketing company. We're headquartered out of the Netherlands. We're a global tech and marketing agency. We have over 4,500 employees with 65 nationalities spread over the globe of 20 different countries within 30 offices. We've won a few awards last year, just this past year, which we're very proud of. You can see up on the slide. Something that I'm especially proud of is that we're also certified B Corp. B Corps, if you're not familiar, is the idea of balancing your purpose and your profit. It's a legally required. We are legally required. We've agreed to consider the impact of our decisions on our workers, on our clients, our government, our governance, the community, and the environment. And we are also, the whole idea of this is to be carbon neutral. So we work with a lot of brands. As you can see, a lot of the brands in the industry are among those that operate at the intersection of technology and culture. It's something that is very prevalent at Dept as well. All right, so we're going to dig into the project takeover, but before we do, I just want to ask a quick question. You can just show of hands if any of you have migrated an MDM before. Okay, cool. So this is going to be great because it's a quick walkthrough of some of the strategy and some of the tactics that we used, as well as challenges that we've met. Our successful migration has a lot more to do with the people than it does with the technology. I find this very important. We didn't put the technology first, although it is very important for the business goals. The people were among the most important for us. Just to give you an idea of who was involved while we were doing this project, we had people that were working within change management. We worked directly with the users themselves in order to alleviate some of the natural resistance that you'll find when you're migrating or changing MDMs, just change in general. A lot of collaboration. We have over 40 organizations within the company. We needed to work with the leads and with the teams in order to be able to make sure that this was a successful rollout. So that meant being transparent, working very closely with everyone in many different countries. We also had a specialized team. The team was small, 6 people, but they were highly focused on the MDM itself, the technology, how to troubleshoot it, and then also how to help the end users. And then, of course, we had to align with leadership. It's hugely important to be asking yourself, does this align with the business culture? Does it align with our business values? And then does it fit the rest technologically? Does it meet the requirements? I want to run over some of the initial drivers that we used in order to make the decision to move forward with an MDM. IT maturity. So we've been growing at such a fast pace that we wanted to make sure our IT was mature enough to be able to handle all the new organizations that we were onboarding, and that we were able to also mature our
Almost.
Buttons, there it goes.
Yeah.
Our information security. So we were developing our ISMS, and in order to mature this along with our IT, the idea was that we wanted to enhance our client trust. So by maturing our IT, maturing our ISMS, we're also showing our clients we take our cybersecurity, our information security very, very seriously in order to gain their trust. The mission statements, we wanted to centralize. We wanted to standardize. We have both not just for our global IT operations, but we wanted to standardize our support, our help desk. We wanted to standardize end user experience. That was among the most important for us. Information security management system was also among the most important for us to standardize. And all of this is because we wanted to achieve ISO 27001 certification. We think, and we still believe, that with this certification that we can show our clients how serious we are with information security without having to actually show them the inner workings. They know based on this global standard that we're meeting the compliance as certified. Of course, there were a few immediate challenges that we were aware of. We had to deploy to 30 plus offices. We had to migrate and consolidate from 5 MDMs down to Jamf Pro. And we cover all of our device types by using Jamf Pro, but we also partner with Intune for the 20% of our fleet that is Microsoft, Windows-based. A little bit of context of why we went with Jamf Pro. The company is very, it's a very, likes to take our time. We like to do our due diligence, take our time, make sure that everything fits. The budget, did that fit? The service performance, the service reliability, how scalable was Jamf Pro? And we did a lot of research from different vendors, and we came down to Jamf Pro as the solution. And a real big part of this was the accessibility to support globally. So I think we ended up vetting 6 other MDMs before we came to the conclusion that Jamf Pro was the proper solution for us. A lot of that is the support. It was hands down the best support we've had with an MDM. So what we needed to do to accomplish migrating the 5 MDMs into 1 or 2 was we needed to accomplish change management. There was a lot of change management in this because of all the moving parts that we had. With change management, we want to make sure that you take your time for due diligence. It's a major investment. So take your time. For us, we started in November of 2021. I went through to our purchase in August of 2022. And then we rolled everything out within the year after that in 2023. Really fast paced, but when you do all the preparation ahead of time, it tends to make things a lot easier. Plan your communications and always gather feedback. This is important too. We iterated a lot. We were adaptive. So plan to receive feedback no matter what it is. There will be users that are very critical. There will be users that are really happy and don't mind working with you. So take that feedback, be appreciative of it if you can, and try to put that towards your plan moving forward with the next migration. Test what you're building. This is important. Test before you deploy. We've had some incidents where we've had a couple help desk engineers that might do something inside of the MDM and not know that it was a global effect. And then we would have to go back and troubleshoot. So what we do is we have a test environment with Jamf Pro that we test on first, and then we'll deploy it to our production server. Train your team and your employees. Knowledge is important. Transparency is important. So please take time. Employees really appreciate transparency. And then, of course, the strategy of how you're going to deploy. Are you looking for something of a phased approach or something more like a big bang where you're just going to rip the Band-Aid off and essentially do it all at once? Just to talk a little bit about ISO 27001, the backstory of it, we were receiving a lot of questionnaires from clients, security questionnaires that we needed to fill out. That led us to think that there had to be a better way to show them our security. And this is how we came, after a bunch of research and conversations, we came to ISO 27001 because it's globally recognized. And it just was a great badge of honor to wear when we're showing and presenting to our clients, and they all recognize it. I'm very pleased to say that as of July of this year, we are certified ISO 27001.
Woo!
All right. The rollout strategy, just diving in real fast with all this stuff.
Doesn't matter.
The rollout strategy. Try to gather the right teams. They don't need to be huge teams. Make sure they're the right people. Make sure that they align with the mission statements that you have for the project. Always revisit those. Rolling out a project of any size, and for us it was 4,000 devices, Mac and Windows, as well as BYOD, and rolling that out can be a real trip, so just be patient and it'll all go well. You'll see in this diagram kind of the strategy behind the deployment. Yeah, hopefully you can take a look at that or screenshot it. It's a little small, but essentially what we did is we signed up for Jamf Pro's 90-day premium pilot. That's all the boxes in the gray. We developed all of our communications, our change management, all of our document systems, where they're going to be, all of the organization, and then we moved into phase one, which would be the organization that we were going to roll out to within the region we were going to roll out to. We contacted leadership, worked with them. We went into phase two, where they had a all hands with their team. And then depending on the size of the group, if it was 50 or if it was 300, if it's 50, we may have only done one deployment group. If we had 300, we would always stretch it out to 3. And then, of course, we had direct messaging with all of the users that were, maybe they were off on vacation or sick, but we would follow up directly with them to work with them. And, of course, our post-deployment. We always, before our next phase, our next organization, we would go through post-deployment and try to improve ourselves. This is a quick abstract of the project plan. This is not the actual project plan. It would be pretty cool if it were that easy. But, we started with the premium pilot, then the MDM migrations and upgrade. We called them upgrades, but migrations. And then, of course, deployment and post-deployment. This is essentially how we operated between January and July of 2023. The next step here is communication. Be transparent if you possibly can be. We communicated as often as possible through as many channels as possible. Try to work with the marketing. If you have marketing, try to work with your key stakeholders. Get their buy-in, because top-down buy-in means an easier transition for your MDM migration or adoption. Provide a lot of lead time for leadership. They're busy. Everybody these days is. So offer a few schedules that they can meet. Let them choose the one that they want, and try to really work around their time frame if you can. But also, if you can, try to push, hey, we do have deadlines. Engage with the more difficult users. This is not something that I would say you do every time, but for us, this worked really well because we had some engineers that were wholly against the idea of putting an MDM on their systems. So for some of the engineers, the more difficult ones, we actually worked directly with them for several weeks to put the MDM on their devices so that they could see exactly how it affects their day-to-day productivity. It turns out once we won them over, a lot of other folks started adopting the solution with no issues. And again, communicate often. I'll say that a lot in this. So communicate as often as possible and be as transparent as possible. Use as many channels as you can. Our communication channels were Slack We had email communications. We had private communications with leadership. We held all hands for the teams. We also held private leadership meetings before we held the all hands to make sure that everybody was up to speed. So don't limit your comms channels. It's super important to let the users get to you if they need to. This is a little bit, this is just basically what I said, direct Slack messaging. We created a community Slack channel. We had email campaigns, presentations for leadership. I really enjoyed this actually. It gave opportunity for our team to work with leadership more, which is, I think is always a great opportunity. We created how-tos and video guides. And we created a shared drive where we held a lot of our how-tos, video guides, that sort. And a wiki. We actually saw great use out of this wiki. We created a Google Sites wiki, and it had all of the training material, all of the links, contacts, all of the everything essentially. Everything that was going to get changed, all the way down to the nuts and bolts of it, what was getting changed with this MDM migration. All right, I'm going to hand it off to Misha.
Yeah. So I'm not standing here for being pretty or something, but yeah, we helped Dept here with the premium pilot because, as you hear, this was a big project and we needed to overcome a couple of challenges. So this is literally what the statement of Dept had. Is like, hey, they want to deploy Apple devices at scale, and they want to have the resources and the skill sets to enable them in that moment, and that's why they came to us. So what a premium pilot is, like we plan for success. Like you hear from Matt, is a lot of things what you need to think about it, but we need to have an alignment here. So exactly what we did, we scoped out the objectives and goals, we created a project plan, and we also talked to the right we have to have the right persons to talk to, right? Security guys, network guys, leadership, you name it. We need to talk to the proper persons. Beside that, we also need resources in the back end because we did it over 90 days, right? They were doing it for way longer than us, right? Testing all the other MDMs, checking what MDM to use. But when we step into the game to help them, we literally say we start at day 1 and day 90 we are done, right? Keep a clear goal on that. It's really important. It's also part of success because otherwise it will be an endless project. That's the danger of big projects, right? So again, a clear project plan. Make sure that you have the same goals, the same successes. And beside of that, oh, I didn't click. Beside of that, we need professional service as well. So we can think about great stuff, but it also needs to be built. Sometimes we can build it ourselves. Sometimes we go back to our professional services team. And not the least is the premium support. If we hit issues, we need support. So we got ourselves covered what we are going to do because the time frame from 90 days is short.
If I could jump in on that just for a second. That 90-day premium pilot was critical for us. I would say that if you can, if it's within the budget, to absolutely sign up for that. If you're going through migrations or any complex project that involves Jamf Pro and MDM, we shortened our learning curve by quite a bit. So I just wanted to
Oh, cool. Thank you. Coming back on the project planning, right? For us, it's really important to measure where we are, right? We need to monitor as well. What we all want is a green field. But in a situation, we don't have that. So in a normal situation while working, you will have issues, right? You will have problems. I don't care. As long as we know the problems and as long as we know what we did, we learn from it for the next step. Because this is high level, if you go deep diving to the milestones, you have something like this. We think about something and you have a blocker. So we need to change that and we need to review that, right? So, clicker is not working so fine, but anyway, so with the premium pilot, we enabled Dept, right, to access all the resources at Jamf. Like I said before, support, professional services, all the training materials they wanted to have. And coming back, so we did an engagement there. We also have the consideration of 5 MDMs. So we needed to migrate all the users, and we needed to do that in a professional manner because the end users doesn't going to wipe the devices. So there were some obstacles. Like I said, wiping is a no-go, right? I'm not going to tell you, going to say, can you wipe your device because we're going to migrate to a new MDM. End user doesn't care. They just want to work and need to work because they have a pressure there as well. So second one is easy. It needs to be easy for the user. It's going to be like click, click, and you go to the next one in a guided way to move over. Other thing was worried about is like, yeah, what about we are global? What if we are losing management? We don't want to fall out of management. So we make sure that the device will always be in management. And last but not least, we have several users, standard users or admin users. So we need to make sure that the standard users also can perform this action, because while moving an MDM, you need to be administrator.
Yeah, just to clear that out, we didn't have any admin users on, there's no IT admin users on our devices at this point.
So what we built, we didn't guide an end user experience. We make sure that we inform the user what we are doing. So it's really clear for them, transparency. We needed to support back to 11 Big Sur because there was a mixture of OSs, what we resolved later on in the project. Pre-checks, of course, because before the user will start, we need to make sure that everything is aligned. Meaning, can I reach out to the new server, old server? Is the battery power okay? Etc., etc. Like I said, this was a really important one. We need to be always under management. And of course, logging. Logging is a very important piece here because we are global, we are remote. If something goes wrong, we need to support them and we need to have clear logs. And of course, the 5 MDMs. We needed to support all the MDM vendors so we can move them over towards one MDM. So yeah, that was a big challenge, by the way. But in the end, we have one workflow, so the end user doesn't. All the users from the several MDMs have the same user experience.
And for that aspect of it, I can tell you that's like magic when that happens, when the end user sees that pop up and it goes through the whole process and it's as easy as clicking a couple buttons. We got fantastic feedback from that. So this migration tool is amazing.
Thank you. And yeah, that's also your work, right? So, but that was also the plan. We planned to rule the world. Anyways, like I said, it was 20 countries or 5 MDMs. So we also did a waterfall effect on the migration. So we're not doing the big bang, everybody enrolls. No, we do per MDM, per region. And like Matt said, if there are 500 users, we're going to jump them up in 3 persons. So we also create a rollout plan. So where we prepare, where we test, and where we have test users and response, and then also have make some documentation so the end user knows what's coming at them. And also their leadership knows what's coming up there. So here I got a little demo about how it looks like for the end users at Dept. So this is the first pop-up screen. Clear the text saying like, hey, you need to migrate. This is what we're going to do. And there was no deferral. They needed to go forward. So the end user clicked OK. Once the end user clicked OK, the pre-checks were already done. If there was an error on the pre-checks, we already knew that. Otherwise, we didn't show the message. This workflow removes the old MDM via an MDM remove command, because we also have a mixture of user-initiated enrollment, but also automated device enrollment. Once that is done, we're going to install the new management framework. And the new management framework is 2 ways. We're going to check in Apple Business Manager if you are registered. We go to the Apple Business Manager route, or otherwise we're going to install it with an enrollment mobile config. So in this scenario, we are installing it by an config, and we're also going to guide it. So we're going to say to the user, hey, this is expected, the instructions on the left side, and what you need to do is on the right side. So it's easy for the user to do what we are helping them to do. By a couple of clicks, they installed the new MDM profile, and they will be managed in the new Jamf Pro environment.
Part of what's cool about this program is that if for some reason the process is broken, somebody closes their laptop lid or a battery dies, it actually is capable of picking up where it left off. Really smart at knowing, hey, I'm not done yet. I need to pop up again and continue this migration.
Yeah, there's a lot of smartness around it below, and in the configuration we are checking if the user is doing funky stuff, because hey, they are users. So we make sure that we are finishing what we need to finish. Now you can see that we are also waiting on the scroll key, because we want to have the new file vault recovery key in our new MDM. So we are checking if the scroll, the redirect profile is on the device. And if it's on the device, we're going to pop up a message. We're going to say, hey, what is your local user password? And this is the message you're going to see. At this point, we're also making sure that we got the keys, so we can support them if they forget the password in the later phase. It's quite important. And then afterwards, we make sure that everything will be cleaned out and also reported back to the new Jamf Pro environment. And that's how the migration is completed for the end user. And this was in real-time videos. I think it was maximum 2 minutes for the users to spend time to do the migration. And nothing happened at all. Just we replaced the MDM profile.
We also informed all of our users that they could continue working while this was happening, which was fantastic. Yep. That was a big concern that we met head on, and it worked really well.
Yeah. And if you want to look more at what's going around under the motor hood, is literally Andrew Nguyen is a colleague of mine. He had a session about this, and he goes to deep diving. So he shows you what we built in the backend.
All right, let's talk about some other challenges we did not foresee while we were trying to deploy this migration. Apple Business Manager availability. Something I was not aware of when we started this out is that Apple Business Manager is not available in all countries. I kind of knew this, but we didn't really pay attention to it, and came across a couple areas that we exist in where there are no Apple Business Managers. Apple Business Manager is in 71 countries. And another challenge that we hit was APN certification replacement. So at one point with our Jamf Now system, the certificate needed to be replaced. A user went in with a different ID and replaced that certificate. What that did is it broke all of our devices that used the old certificate, so that they were no longer communicating with the MDM, and they were in a complete lockdown. So we weren't able to remove the MDM framework at all. However,
well, first thing first, read RTFM,
yes.
Read the fantastic manual. Don't ignore messages what we are saying, because we are saying to you, it is wrong what you're doing, please hold back. But if you have an admin that continue, you lose management.
We did. And it took us a while to figure this one out. I actually want to thank Sven Hopman. He's over in Amsterdam. He came up with this workaround. Essentially what we did was we created a really easy way for users to boot up into their recovery mode, into terminal, turn off the SIP so that we were able to actually remove the framework that way. And then we would turn the SIP back on and reboot the device so that we could then install our MDM. Jamf Pro. Another challenge that we met was legal compliance. And a lot of that had to deal with our German teams. It's a real word. I'm going to attempt to say it. Bundesstaatenschutzgesetz. Pretty close. This is essentially Germany's Privacy Act. It's their federal Privacy Act. It is much more stringent and strict than GDPR, and it had us bound up for quite some time in the legal sense. before we could actually deploy the MDM. So if you're working in a country, the idea here would be is to check to make sure you know what their data privacy laws are and how you would actually deploy that if you need to get folks to sign a new agreement, or if you can just inform them like we could here in the US and then push forward. We also had a timer on the ISO challenge, ISO certification. We knew that we needed to get this done in an effort to get certified, and we wanted to centralize and consolidate. And what ended up happening with ISO is because of wanting to centralize and consolidate our MDMs, we also realized that we needed to revamp our inventory. This was something that ISO actually showed us, was that we didn't have a great inventory record. So this was something that we ended up creating a new project for inventory as part of the ISO. So ISO really did show us the roadmap that we needed to get to in order to get certified and secured. Some key takeaways on the project implementation lifecycle. Take your time. Don't be rushed if you don't have to be. Definitely work with your customers or your employees or your users. Make sure you communicate. I know I said I'd say this a lot, but communication is so key. Transparency is so key to this whole thing. Working with people is extremely critical when it comes to seeing the success of this. As more advocates you can get, the better off this will start to, the dominoes will fall over, so to speak. Then we want to gather feedback as much as possible and be as flexible as possible. So if somebody gets hurt and can't be there, or if the leadership says we have a project deadline, or half the team is on vacation or traveling for an event, try to be as flexible as possible. Move to the next team or organization if you can. Get your stakeholders involved also along the way. Let them know, update them constantly, let them know what's going on. They'll be very proud of the project and they'll feel like a part of it. And then test. And the last part here is to get trained. We actually used part of our premium pilot to also get trained up and shorten that learning curve for ourselves, and also to have Jamf Pro check out the scripts and things and everything that we were doing to make sure that we were conforming to what was standard. Some of the key takeaways for strategy: we prioritized ISO certification, compliance, and also cybersecurity over the last year and a half. There we go. We secured leadership buy-in as soon as we possibly could. We targeted the rollout based on regions and organizations. So depending on how large your organization is, you may not want to do that, but we decided that the region and the organizations within the regions were the way that we would want to roll out. We offered multiple channels. Some people like email, some people like Slack. Some people like to be in person, which we also offered that in-person help desk in our offices in the Netherlands. And focus on your soft skills. Your bedside manners, working with individuals. There's going to be moments where you'll get frustrated because a lot of folks won't read the guides. They'll skip the wiki, and then they'll come to you with a question because something might not be working properly, like Privileges app, which we used in order to promote users from standard to admin for a very short period of time. Maybe they didn't read the guide on how that worked. Patience is key there. And so bedside manners are key. Soft skills are something to definitely work on. All right, I'm going to leave you with this. A successful migration has a lot more to do with people than it does with technology. Appreciate you guys coming out. Really thank you for that. And I think we can move to a Q&A if anyone has any questions.
Or online.
There are a few questions. Thank you very much. And of course,
okay, cool.
Thank you.
So we've got 3 questions. First one, did you migrate any existing data from previous MDMs, or did you start fresh? I'm just going to go on stage here.
So we audited the systems. There's one system in particular that we actually migrated Chef over and Monkey, but that will be shortly phased out. It was just something that we agreed to do with that particular organization.
Cool. So when did do you have anything to say around this, Misha? Or?
No. I think, especially with 5 MDMs, there are 5 tools where it's hard to get them all together, right? So we decided to start fresh and only migrate what needs to be migrated.
And in order to standardize everything, I mean, we had all the documentations organized, and we wanted to standardize at a global level. So even when some of the organizations were had specialty software or scripting, we tried to see if there was a way Jamf Pro could resolve this, either natively built in, or we would write our own scripts in order to rebuild it. So it was as fresh as possible.
When you did the migration, did you lose any machines out of management? I think we did see something around here. For example, removed from old MDN, but then didn't turn up in Jamf. I guess this was answered a bit, but maybe you want to add a bit more?
Yeah, a little bit. So we didn't really lose the management. We lost capability of turning the management off so that we could migrate from one to another. So we just had to turn the management off. So we did have a moment where the device was unmanaged. However, we were working directly with the users in order to make sure that the SIP was turned off, the new framework was put in, and everything was working.
Yeah, and that was nothing to do with the migration. That was just a simple human error.
That's correct. Yeah. So read the directions.
The only thing when I know where we have an issue is like in the first period that Matthew asked me, hey, can you push it out for me? And I'm like, just in the first phase. And he pushed it out to VIP, like a test. So we're like, what are you doing, right? So
yeah, no. I like to test some of the users. So and we wanted buy-in. And to be honest, the product was really good. We had a few bumps in the road, and leadership knew that was going to happen, especially the folks who were willing to test.
Yep.
Of course, we didn't just roll it out and not tell them, but they were great on feedback, fantastic feedback for us in order to improve.
Cool. For both Matthew and Misha, any mobile devices planned to be migrated to Jamf as well? Has there been any conversation around this?
Yes. So we have, and in fact, we're actually waiting. So this is a little bit about the German legal issues we were running into, complications. We have several iPhones and iPads and Apple TVs. And we're no problem resetting the Apple TVs and the iPads in the office. The phones are a different scenario. So what we're going to do is and we have the same issue with some of the phones as we did with the Macs, where they're no longer able to be taken out of control from Jamf Now. So we'll have to wipe those. However, we'll be able to, for the other ones, as soon as we get the legal all down and everybody gets everything signed, we'll be able to then move forward. But we still have several mobile devices, iPhones, that need to be moved over to the German teams. Yep.
Yeah, and we are ready for that because we got the tools, we got the apps. So
yep, we're very ready for it. It's just a matter of when the legal team gives us the green light. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, last question. If anyone has any questions around seamless migration, where can they find you? Is there any way they can contact you easily?
This is fantastic. Yeah, LinkedIn. Matthew Serwick at LinkedIn would be fantastic. Reach out to me. Also the app. We have the JNUC 2023 app. Find me on there. And in fact, I did want to let you guys know that I set up an 11 a.m. tomorrow. It's a brain date. Where you can just come in if you wanted to talk a little more deep dive into the technical and less of this high level. I'll be there at 11 tomorrow so that we can hang out and have a little closer of a conversation.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause to Misha and Matthew.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Appreciate it.